Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the A Burke Does Work podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Burke, and in today's episode, we will be discussing macronutrients or macros, what they are, what their main primary function is, and why they are important to hit your goals, whether it be from a strength, muscle adding, or a weight loss perspective. There's a lot of different techniques into counting macros or counting calories, dieting. At the end of the day, it's calories in versus calories out. But today I'm going to simplify as much as possible what the main function of carbs, fats, proteins are, their calorie count, who should be counting macros, and why it's so vital and important to your success in the gym, whether it be from a weight loss aspect, fat loss aspect, strength aspect. We're going to go over everything today, essentially. It's going to be short and sweet. Again, this is just my professional advice that I have done personally. I have seen results with my clients as well by using this counting macros system. At the end of the day, it may not be for everybody, but this is at least a really good introductory tool that I start off most of my clients with, especially if they aren't familiar with dieting at all. So I guess let's get right into the breakdown a little bit. Macros. What are macros or macronutrients? There's a little bit of a difference. The three main macronutrients are carbs, fats, and protein. You can track your alcohol, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. The reason why carbs, fats, and protein are important is because they are the three essential macronutrients that actually have a purpose, or the main purpose, I should say. Protein is obviously going to help you build lean muscle. That's important for a couple of reasons. Yes, if you are a male trying to get bigger and stronger, that's important, but whether you're male, female, whatever you are, it's also vital to train for lean mass gain when you are also working on weight loss as well. The reason that's important is because every pound of muscle that your body has naturally, you're going to burn an extra 500 to 700 calories at rest for that day. Granted, you have to think calories in versus calories out. What are you eating versus what are you expending during the day? And that's where these carbs, fats, and proteins are important and do come into play. Carbs can be looked at as the enemy, the glutens, the pastas, the breads, the rice, this or that. It depends on the goal. I'm not going to say any particular macronutrient is more important or less important than the other, because it's all vital and there's no one size fits all approach when it comes to your goals, whether it be weight loss, strength training, rehabilitation, athletic performance. It really does depend. But this is at least the layout that I can kind of set the blueprint out for you guys. So we've covered carbohydrates as an energy source, I guess, necessarily using it as fuel. In my opinion, carbs are more of just a byproduct of food. And of course, carbs essentially would be the energy source of your day, whether it come from, just waking up and getting through your workday, or even converting carbs into energy through ATP. Kind of long breakdown, we'll go over that eventually. I'm going to choose my words wisely here. Carbs are the primary source of fuel or energy when it comes to your diet and your macronutrient system. Keto is where, you may have heard about keto. That is basically where you are tricking your body into using fats as fuel. It is essential, it does work. In my opinion, it's a little bit harder to maintain because you are essentially tricking your body and flipping your diet into, rather than using carbs as fuel and holding on to a little bit of fats that you intake for essential fat to actually help burn, you're actually going to do the opposite. You're going to lower your carbs, up your fat intake, and essentially you can use ketones, or through a specific amount of time, your body will learn to adapt and use that excess fat that you're intaking from your diet and it'll actually help burn off the fat that you currently have. Take that with a grain of salt. There's a lot of different trainers and YouTube videos out there that either bust that myth or prove that to be unsustainable, which I do agree on. However, if you are just starting out, it wouldn't be a bad thing to look at. Again, I could get slack for saying that, but there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to weight loss, nutrition, health, fitness. I've never personally done a full-blown keto diet, but I know people that have, and they've seen great results off of it. So I'm not going to knock it, but I am going to at least throw the warning label out there, and I'm not going to advocate fully for changing your entire diet and only eating a fat and essential fats diet, because that's essentially also what keto is. You want to get your healthy fats from avocados, seed oils, excuse me, avocados, seed oils, some dairy products, but not a lot, and try to go the non-processed route as much as possible. Nuts, olive oils, avocados, vegetables, if you have to sprinkle a little bit of butter, cheese, it's all natural, that's fine. But at the end of the day, fats are fats and carbs are carbs. Protein is the most vital macronutrient in my opinion, kind of relating back to what I said about lean muscle mass and how each pound you're going to burn an extra 300 to 700 calories at rest, not when you're working out. So, I guess to tack on to that sentence, protein is also the most satisfying and satiating macronutrient as well. A lot of fitness professionals will advise their clients or friends or anybody that is counting macros or using that macro system to prioritize protein. The golden rule is for maintenance, I would say bare minimum 0.5, but I would say the gold standard is about 0.7 to a little over 1, maybe 1.2 grams of protein per body weight. So let's say, for example, I am 170 pounds. My goal is to maintain. I would intake anywhere from about 145 upwards to maybe about 185, maybe 190 grams of protein per day. If I wanted to maintain, that would actually probably help with a lean mass building on my aspect, because I have not currently been counting my protein intake because I haven't needed to. That hasn't been my goal necessarily. I am working a lot more towards the cardio aspect, so I'm personally I'm personally having success with intermittent fasting and then more just whole foods in general, which I will get to that in a second as well. But carbs, fats, protein, just to kind of lace it all up together. Carbs are your essential energy source, which is basically a byproduct of all the foods that you eat. Fats are essential in a sense. You can overdo it, but you don't want to necessarily starve yourself from those fat calories, because, for example, your body will go into starvation mode. Meaning, if all day I were to only eat, rice and protein shake isolates, and I'm not intaking any essential fats, my body is actually going to hold on to all the fat around, mostly around, the midsection, whatever fat is hardest to lose. Because let's kind of take us out of 2022 for a second. Let's say if we were our most primal selves, let's say if we were the nomads, right, and we were dying on our deathbed. You might have seen the show Alone on Netflix, but when humans get to the point of starvation, they atrophy all their muscle first. They actually hold on to most of their body fat, comparatively speaking, to the rest of their body. And for males, it's going to be around the midsection. So you might hear a term called skinny fat. You might potentially hold on to a lot more fat around the midsection and atrophy muscle from the upper body and legs, which is the opposite of what we want, right? We want to, taper the waist and, try to look for that nice little taper, big shoulders, big broad back, and kind of play that illusion game. And some people kind of get caught up and sabotage their nutrition to a sense where their body is actually going to hold on to more fat. So you do want to get your natural fats. I advocate more, again, for avocados, oils, nuts, things like that. If you're going to splurge, You can count macros on an app, which I'll go into in a second. Sorry, I'm burping up real quick. So just to tie everything together, the three main macronutrients: carbs, fats, and protein. These are important because each one of these has a numerical value. And this is where it gets important to the overall counting of the calories. The typical American standard is set to 2,000 calories. I'm not sure, I feel like that was set in like the 70s and they kind of just like, whatever, just keep running with it. But again, not everyone's gonna have that 2,000 calorie mark. I'm just gonna use this as an example. So let's say we have a 2,000 calorie goal. Carbs and protein are 4 calories per 1 gram. Carbs and protein are 4 grams. Sorry, carbs and protein are 4 calories per 1 gram. A gram of fat is 9 calories per 1 gram. So if you really do the math here, 2 grams of carbs at 4 calories each gram is still less than 1 gram of fat from a caloric intake standpoint. So this is where some people get a little confused, and it gets a lot easier if you use an app. So a couple things you're going to need to have success when tracking macros is obviously a reliable phone that either has YouTube, a camera, and if you download the app MyFitnessPal, all one word. I'm sure there are other apps out there that track your nutrition. I just like MyFitnessPal the most. So that's what I'm going to tell you guys to get. And essentially that is going to be, and a food scale. Food scale is vital because when it comes to lacing all of this stuff together, and I know it's a little bit of a lot, I'm trying to make it more simple for you guys because it's not easy, it's simple, but I'm trying to line it all up for you guys to have the most success. If you are a person who likes to cook at home, which obviously I advocate for, nothing is better than whatever you're preparing to put into your body. If you can, I recommend you YouTube it if you have to, but I'm going to try to break it down as best as I can. Use the food scale, and you can actually weigh out literally everything that you have. At the end of this podcast / video, I'm going to try to go on MyFitnessPal and give you guys a live example. But what you can do is track your entire, let's say, dinner. Use your food scale. You can weigh out, let's say, 8 ounces of chicken breast, which is relatively lean. Let's say, for example, I don't know the exact numbers. Let's say there's 1 gram of fat and there is 20 grams of protein in the 8 ounces of chicken. And let's say there's no carb. What did I say? 20 grams of protein times 4, right? Because 4 calories per 1 gram of protein. That would equal about 80 to maybe 90 calories. Because the 20 grams of protein, you multiply that by 4, because that's the caloric value of a gram of protein. And let's say that there's 1 gram of fat from the little white stuff on the edge. That's an extra 9 calories. So call it 89 calories. Let's round up because when you go to the store, they round up as well on the processed foods, which I'll get into in a second. But right there, you can weigh out exactly what the caloric macro value is of your chicken. You could do the same process with rice, same process with cereal, with milk, with milkshakes, with smoothies. Yes, it is a little bit of a hassle, but if that's the price you have to pay to get you to your goals, do it for a couple weeks. I promise you, once you become a creature of habit, it's going to get a lot easier just to kind of eyeball a general caloric value of whatever you're eating, and then you can just basically adjust on the fly. That is the main tip if you are a home eater with a food scale. The reason why I like MyFitnessPal and using these online apps is because if you're like me and you're a little lazier and you like to go out to restaurants or just pick up somewhat processed food, I will say that, processed box food, you can actually go onto your phone, onto MyFitnessPal, they have a feature, and like I said, I'll show you this towards the end of the video or the end of the pod. They have a feature where you can open up the camera through MyFitnessPal, stick it to any food product that's in a packaged bag, and it literally will tell you the entire calorie breakdown per serving, and you can actually select the amount of serving that you're having for your total, meals for the day, and it tracks it right then and there for you. It's very, very easy to use. It's very efficient. And again, if you're a creature of habit, you can actually save all of your portions, even if you are at home as well. And if you consistently eat the same thing, it's as simple as opening up the app, going to your saved foods, logging it in, and by the end of the day, there's going to be a pie chart. Don't check it in the beginning, like meal 1 or meal 2, because the number is going to be a little off, but around midday towards the end of the day, you're going to see there's a pie chart that's going to have the percentages of your macronutrients from carbs, fats, and proteins, but then you're also going to have a bar graph that also goes a little bit deeper. It tracks, I believe, like even other macronutrients, basically, like whatever. It tracks everything. The bar graph can basically tell you what you can afford for your last meal, or for the last meal of the day to finish off the macros. And you might have seen the acronym IIFYM, or if it fits your macros is what it stands for. And it's kind of like a joke, because a lot of people that do track macros and have success, they'll be really, really strict for like 90% of the day, and at the end of the day, that's when they kind of splurge with their cereals or their milkshakes or this or that. And it's awesome because you can get away with still indulging and not, cutting back so much to the point where you're suffering. Technically, like for example, I did a macro cycle one time for about 7 or 8 weeks. I had Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out, and El Pollo Loco, I would say probably every day. And in that span of 8 to 9 weeks, I lost about 10 or 11 pounds. Through tracking my macros, like yes, technically I ate fast food for almost every meal for almost 2 months, and I still lost weight, because it's not what you eat, it's the caloric value of what you're eating, calories in versus calories out. I was still working out. Granted, it may not have been the best for me, but it happened, and I was able to track as needed, and to be honest, I love the results. I thought it was really easy, and I definitely advise anybody else out there who's struggling for at least that initial weight loss aspect, just try it. Try macros. Even try going to like an El Pollo Loco, or even, let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say, listen to this, F that, I'm still gonna go to McDonald's, get a Big Mac. Eat that Big Mac, and then Google the total calories that are in the burger, the fries, the soda that you drink, the amount of sugar, the excess amounts of carbs, because your body's not gonna be able to process all that food at one time, and then it's gonna be stored as fat. I'm not knocking you, but a lot of people think it's way more complicated than the system really is, and it's very, very, very simple. Little pause here real quick. Okay, I am a massive advocate, obviously, for whole foods. I won't go too far into it, but I still like to indulge in a Snickers bar every now and again. I'm still a human being. I'm not an alien, or I'm not a superhero or anything like that. And I just can't stress enough, don't create paralysis analysis by wondering which exact diet to do and if it's going to work, this or that. At the end of the day, keto, paleo, counting macros, intermittent fasting, it all works. It's just a matter of what's going to be sustainable for you. Because at the end of the day, this thing's a marathon, not a sprint. And we want to make sure, if all of our hard work and effort and energy that we put into our bodies, into the gym, into bettering ourselves, we want to get the most out of our results, right? And this is just a surefire way to scientifically track what you're putting into your body, and you will see results, whether it be good or bad. If you track what you're eating for the next 7, 14, 30 days, your body's going to tell you whether or not that's a good idea or not by the end of that 28 days. Promise you that. So just wrapping up here, I want to give you guys a quick example. Sorry, get away from the mic. Ooh, that was loud. Okay. So for example, I have a couple of my kind of favorite snacks here in beef jerky and oven roasted almonds that are unsalted almonds. So for example, one serving of almonds is 170 calories, 14 grams of fat, 6 grams of carbs, 6 grams of protein. So I'm no math whiz, but let's bust it out real quick. 14 times 9. That is going to be about 125 calories from fat. So 125 from fat. Carbs is 6, so 6 times 4 is 24, so let's call it 150. And then same thing, protein, 6 grams, call it 24. So we are going to call that about 175. They are rounding down because they are marketed as healthy, which they are. They are more healthy, essential fat, unsalted. But at the end of the day, fat is still fat. So it is a healthier fat, but watch your servings on the oven roasted almonds, or any nuts for that matter, because a little bit goes a long way, I tell you. What you can do in the MyFitnessPal app is, of course, just track 170 calories, or you can literally point your camera straight to that barcode and it opens up the MyFitnessPal app, and you can basically select the amount of servings that you had for the day, and it gives you your entire calorie breakdown as well. Second item, beef jerky, same exact kind of breakdown. One serving is about 80 calories, half a gram of fat, 8 carbs, 10 grams of protein. So as you can tell, I wouldn't say pure, but if I were to focus on my macronutrients for the day, this bag of almonds would be a sufficient fat source, essential fat source, and may not be the most essential, but this bag of beef jerky would be a very essential source of protein, comparatively speaking, for the calories that you're getting. Basically 80 calories per serving at 10 grams of protein, 8 grams of carbs, 0.5 grams of fat. So again, quick math, 10 grams of protein times 4 is 40 calories, 8 grams of carbohydrates times 4 is 32, so that's about 75 right there, and then your half a gram of fat is about 9 divided by 2 is about 4 or 5, so this is pretty spot on. Each individually wrapped package is going to round up. It's never going to say 78 calories or 171 calories or anything like that. It's always going to try to be pretty exact, which is fine, because if we are as on point as possible when tracking or counting macros, it's okay to be, let's say, 5 total calories short, or let's say 11 total calories after. We can burn 10 calories in this conversation, so that's fine. Don't worry about it too much. It's just a matter of getting you guys there within that striking distance or that striking range consistently. So tracking your macros every day, creating a sufficient, successful kind of snacking protocol, and not just picking up anything willy-nilly and going for it. These are all things that I have done personally and I have recommended to my clients, and they see great results. And if I've seen results, if they've seen results, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't see results as well. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please drop a comment, reach out to me privately. I would love to discuss this in depth. It's really hard for me to pinpoint my exact audience, because even as a personal trainer, I never really specifically had a niche, I guess. I trained a lot of general people with a lot of different types of goals. Personally, I come from an athletic background. I have the most fun training athletes, strength training, weight loss even. But as time goes on, as goals start to change, as my personal, development starts to change a little bit, I would actually kind of gravitate more towards the weight loss aspect. Not because I was better at it, but again, simple, not easy. These are all just options. If you guys don't even like or won't even entertain the idea of macronutrients, shoot me a message and maybe we could talk about, intermittent fasting, paleo, keto. There's not a one size fits all approach. And again, that's kind of the point I'm trying to make wrapping this guy up. The last, I probably should have covered this. The last kind of important item, I'm kind of glad I saved this for last, is tracking alcohol. You can track alcohol. The reason why I didn't start off this video with that is I'm not a big alcohol advocate any longer. The older I get, unfortunately. I'm not going to say you can't have a good time and, tie a couple off or tie one on or whatever, throw a couple back. But if you guys are really serious about changing your life, your goals, making a consistent difference in your life, I just personally think alcohol is not something that should always be around. It's okay to celebrate, it's okay in moderation. Again, I'm going to stop coaching you guys. This is all I feel personally strongly about not drinking alcohol myself. Do whatever you want, but that's at least why I didn't talk about it earlier. Now, let's talk about the science of it. So, alcohol. It's interesting. You can track it by either pulling from your fats or your carbs pool. It has zero benefit, essentially. So you can't necessarily pull it from your protein pool because your protein is at least going to help with recovery, adding lean muscle mass, and alcohol actually does the opposite, essentially, of what protein does. Protein helps build muscle, whereas alcohol can actually halt your gains due to lack of recovery and the breakdown of muscle fibers, unfortunately. If you are going to drink alcohol, try straight shots, try no sugars, no salts, and again, this is try. If you have to drink your IPAs on your Sunday football, whatever, that's all good, but track it. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting, but you can track alcohol because 1 gram of alcohol is roughly 7 calories, and you can basically pull from your carbs or your fats pile. And again, I'll go over this in the live example on the phone. Kind of hard to explain, but let's say, for example, your macro breakdown for the day is, let's call it 100 calories of protein, 200 calories of carbs, 50 calories in fat. Sorry, let me write this down real quick. What did I say? 100 carb, 50 fat, 100 protein. I'm sorry, 200 carbs, sorry. So doing some quick math. Okay, so doing some quick math here. 200 grams of carbs is going to be 800 calories. 50 grams of fat is going to be 450 calories. Yes. And then 100 grams of protein is going to be 400 calories. So that breakdown is going to give you roughly 1,650 calories per that day. Stay with me. Thank you guys if you stayed this long. How we're going to pull the alcohol is, again, we can't pull from the protein. We have to either negate from the carbs or the fats at 7 calories per gram. So let's pull from carbs, for example. We have 200 grams of carbs in our day. Let's say you track 2 shots of tequila, which are 70 calories each, I believe, 70 or 90, let's call it 70. And yeah, so 70 grams each. Let's say it is no fat and it's all carb. Let's see, 70 divided by 4. So you're looking at about 15 calories-ish. So basically, all you would do is in MyFitnessPal, just pull. You could even track the shots of alcohol, and rather than looking at your protein, carbs, and fat breakdown, you would basically just look at your bar graph, and it would basically tell you whether or not you went over for the day in that alcohol, conversion. I know it's kind of confusing, but if you're gonna go out of the way to drink alcohol while you are dieting, trying to work on your goals, you're gonna run into a couple road blocks, road bumps, bumps in the road, whatever you want to call them. But nonetheless, you can track them. To be honest, I'm getting a little tired over this kind of topic. I want to wrap it up. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any specific questions about how to track alcohol, how to track macros, if you guys are currently struggling with whatever diet you're on, please shoot me a message, comment, like, subscribe, whatever you guys need to. I know I kind of butchered the alcohol breakdown. I could go into it a little more in depth. I just don't have my phone access, and I want to be able to really break this down. So stick around for the end of this video. I want to try to give you guys, like I said, a live look at the MyFitnessPal app and give you guys more of a breakdown on how you can use the barcode as well. That's about all my closing statements. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching so far. I know it's a lot of ums and uhs, and if you guys are actually, watching this, thank you guys for the feedback. Thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.